So today the plan is to try and get this glass panels out of the balustrade on the side of the deck here. What I need to do is actually cut these two panels out completely, so all the timber's got to come out, all the glass has kind of come out. Obviously the glass has got to come out first, but I've got to cut them down, and we're going to replace that with straight glass pool fencing, so we can meet the new regulations that have come out. So one of the things that we need to do first is clear the workspace, and that means getting rid of that pot plant. And what I'm hoping to do today is get rid of these bits of timber around here. Not too sure you can see these ones here. And as we come around down on the bottom, because I'm thinking that is what is actually holding this piece of glass and that piece of glass in place. So I want to take that out. Now those pieces of glass are very large, so what we're going to have to do is get some holders so we can pick them up and carry them. So before we go too much further, let's have a look at what we've got over here to do the job. So clearly you want to start with some safety protection, always do that. But I've got these suction holders for the glass. So they go on, they're meant to hold about 80 kilos each, so between them we should be able to cover that piece of glass, and I'm gonna have to move them somewhere else. I've also got some chisels, like a chisel hammer, a little jimmy bar there. Don't know if I'm gonna actually need them at this stage, I really don't know, but I've also got my little oscillating tool there, little cordless multi-tool, and that's what I'll be planning on doing or using for the majority of that job. But anyway, let's see how we go. Let's get into it. So my plan of attack, which did work, was to use a Milwaukee oscillating tool, multi-tool, whatever you want to call it. Look, I did use a combination blade, so one that cuts both wood and steel. And the reason for cutting the wood and the metal was that the nails that hold the beading on are obviously metal, and I wanted to just be able to cut straight through it. And look, that tool has plenty of grunt and just went through those small nails very, very easily. Look, there were a couple of times when I had to get the little wrecking bar to just pry them off once I had cut through all the nails, but that's fine. There's just a bit of paint holding them, and I guess a little bit of silicone also holding them onto the glass as well, which necessitated that. Now once I had all the beading off on the deck side, I then put the suction cups on to hold it, because I wanted that to be able to be gripped and held safely when I had the beading taken off the other side. And look, I do recommend that you have someone holding that when you're taking the beading off the other side, which I did have, and then there was a 2-person lift to get it off. Okay, so there's the first one done. You can see my arm just goes straight through there now, lovely. But look, that was a bit trickier than I thought it was going to be, because it was siliconed on both sides. I thought that was just going to be held in by that wood, but it was actually siliconed in as well, which makes sense. Like, you'd hope that they probably would have done that, but it meant that I had to take both sides of timber off and not just the one side, which I was hoping to do. I was actually just hoping to take one side off and get away with that, but anyway, I didn't. So we're on the second one now. I didn't worry about doing a time lapse on this one. You saw me do the first one, so this is just a repeat. So I've taken off, I guess, that what we call beading or something that you put around the outside of it here to hold it in place. I've now got these handles on because there's now no timber holding it in. Once I take the timber off on the other side that it's silicone to, it'll just pop in. So I've got those handles on there to make it safer to control, easier to pick up and easier to hang on to. Just keeps people safe. Look, when you're dealing with glass, that's a big one that you gotta remember, is stay safe. We got the first one off pretty well. The one corner did crack. Okay, so this is now panel number 2 out. So I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. That was the part that was probably concerning me the most, getting that glass out without shattering and going everywhere or cutting anybody or doing anything silly. because they are big pieces of glass. It turns out that they don't appear to be hardened. They're probably safety glass, but I don't think they're hardened glass. But just happy they got them out all in one piece. Next step will be to take out that balustrade now. So I need to chop off at the bottom of the posts, which sounds easy enough. And then I also need to chop off here against that big post there, because I want to keep this particular post there, because that's what we're going to mount the new glass panels to. So before I got too carried away and started cutting timber, there was one more job I had to do, and that was to take that LED strip lighting off. That was pretty easy to do, just a few screws and then wind it up. Okay, I'm going to have to do a couple of cuts here. Originally I thought I would be able to come in underneath the boards here and cut through, but clearly there's no gap there, and to be honest, I didn't really take too much of a look at that, so that was never going to be an option. But hopping underneath, there's actually boards around the post as well, so I can't come in from underneath. I say from underneath the deck, so I can actually access that, but I'm not going to be able to cut from underneath as well. So what I'm going to have to do is cut here at deck height, take the deck boards off, because I could probably take some of them off now, but some of the other ones down there, on this one for example, I would have to cut that board out back around here somewhere to get that off, which I will start to do. So what I might do is just cut it off, get access to these boards better, take these boards off because I don't want to actually have a hole there, then trim it back down again another level, and we'll go from there. So not the end of the world, and not that much extra work really, it's just another cut through. So let's see how we go. So I want to use a cutter. I did actually buy this tool specifically for this job. So it's a Milwaukee Sawzall. It is the M18 CSX2. Look, I've used it once before just to cut through some light ply. Look, it went through it like a hot knife through butter, to be honest. Why did I pick this one? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Is that when my father passed a couple of years ago, he had a Milwaukee drill. So already had the battery pack, had the charger. So one of the things that I think you need to decide when you start going battery is what platform that you're going to operate on. So are you going to go with like a Milwaukee platform, or a Makita platform, or Ryobi or Hikoki, or whatever it's going to be, because the batteries and the chargers are the things that cost a lot. But particularly for these, so that was, I guess, reason number one, is that I already had a Milwaukee battery and a charger. But to be honest, the battery was only a 2 amp battery, so it wasn't particularly big, and the drill was old, so I could have changed out at that point in time. But then I went for a bigger battery, so I had started to invest in that platform. But also the Milwaukees have just sheer grunt. So in all the reviews I've seen in comparisons, the Milwaukee has had the largest amount of grunt, whether it's with the Sawzall or with the driver. Particularly is what I wanted, because I'm actually do put a lot of screws and bolts into steel, and I noticed that the screwdriver, or the drill particularly, didn't have enough grunt, so I went and got the biggest one, because on the property out here I don't want to be stuck down the bottom of the paddock somewhere trying to drill through a big sleeper, which I have done when I built up our herb garden. So I actually went through like hardwood with the driver, and look, it was driving that, it had so much grunt, it was actually shearing the bolts on some of them when they hit some really hard bits of wood. So it's definitely got some grunt behind it. But that's, again, I guess reason number two why I've gone for the Sawzall, because on the market it has a lot of grunt. Now I didn't go for the Super Sawzall. Look, I'm not doing this full time, but this will definitely get its use, whether it's going to be pruning smaller branches I don't want to pull the chainsaw out for, which you can do with these as well. But particularly with this job, it has to go through 4x4 posts that have been sitting out in the weather for a long time, so they're pretty solid, pretty old, pretty aged. So that was the reason behind this. But then I've got other jobs, so I need to punch a hole through the wall and create a door. I've got to cut back some kitchen bench tops as well, kitchen cupboards, to
make space for a bigger fridge. But that's all down the track as it occurs. But anyway, that's why I've gone for the old Milwaukee.
So who doesn't love a saw with some grunt behind it? Look, this tool, this saw really has a lot of power. Perfect tool for the job.
So maybe you've seen that I bent a blade there. And look, that's really inexperience on my behalf. It's not the tool, it's definitely not the blade. Pretty much I got the angle as I was coming across that 4x4. It actually started digging into the deck as well, so as I sort of cut down, instead of cutting straight, it sort of cut in and started going down on a bit of angle, and I was trying to pull it back out. Didn't go so well. But anyway, this is why I have more than one blade on hand at a time, for that very reason. So, new blade, and look, that is a shame, because that was a brand new blade. Obviously, it's only the second time I've used it, and I didn't use that blade either. I used a much shorter blade last time, and I think that's one of the challenges as you have a much longer blade. There's obviously a lot of flexibility, and you probably saw just as I was going through and cutting, it's very hard to keep it dead flat without it like tilting on a bit of an angle as it goes down. There's a fair bit of weight in these, and when you've got a 6 amp battery on the bottom, it does tend to drop down a little bit. It's just natural, just the way it sits in your hand. But anyway, let's give it another crack. That didn't take much. I was that close to finishing it off before the I just sort of tried to force the blade a little bit too much. So look, that's good, nice quick fix. Now I need to do the verticals, which I'm hoping will be a lot simpler and a lot quicker, a lot easier. And then that'll be off. Be pretty happy with that. So the next step I've got is to cut through here, across, obviously down the other side. And I am not the best at cutting straight lines, so what I need to do is compensate for that. So how I want to do that is mark it out with some tape. Now that doesn't need to be spot on, because I can plane it back if it's got a little bit of an overlap. I'd rather have an overlap than not have enough timber though, because I've taken too much out. So that's the plan. Cut along this tape line, and that is all disconnected.
So like a hot knife through butter, that just cuts straight through it very, very easily. So there you go, another job done. Look, that was just the first step in a multi-phase approach for that job. So I'll have another video coming out next week around how I then fix up the deck. But look, if you like that, please give us a big thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe. It greatly helps the channel. And if you think it's something that friends would enjoy, please share it around. Until next time, I'll see you then.